up next. Jeremiah-Jesu is a seasoned brand and growth marketing leader currently heading marketing and brand at Wakana, with experience across major brands like Pepsi and KFC. He blends strategy, digital media, and influencer marketing to drive results. Khadijah as a developer relations engineer at Selu Foundation leads Web3 developer relations across 5 African countries, fostering growth of blockchain adoption and technical communities. Away from her work at Selu, she actively advocates for women in tech. Yash is the founder of Now Collab, a platform driving project execution and collaborative learning. With over 15 years of experience across India, MENA, and France, he transforms complex ideas into scalable solutions.
Good evening, guys. Great to have you on here. And good evening, everyone, from wherever you're joining in. I want to believe that you enjoyed the first session that we had, and it's about to get a lot more interesting. If you've seen the topic of what we're about to discuss, you'll be as excited as I am for what is about to go down in very few minutes. We're at a very pivotal time, and I think the last speaker said that in talent acquisition, from resume passing boards to video interviews now, and even in our daily life, AI has one way or the other found it has integrated itself into our everyday life. But with every innovation that happens, there's always that question. The rise of AI, is it genuinely enhancing the hiring experience? Or, is it just an hype? Are we just buying into an hype? Are we just buying into the next technological wave? And so today, joining me to discuss this, I have, two remarkable minds navigating this space in real time. We're about to talk to experts in this space. Not people who just go to ChatGPT to put prompts here and there, but people who, are shaping this space for what it is. Yash is the founder and CEO of Now Collab, which is a platform, known for using AI to foster meaningful and talent conversations. And we also have Khadijah, who is a developer relations engineer, and she's deeply entrenched in conversations around tech, like you heard in a bio, around women in tech and other conversations. So welcome, Yash. Welcome, Khadijah. Good to have you on board this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And the very few minutes we have, we'll be unpacking, what is working with AI and what is wishful thinking, and what recruiters, startups, and even candidates need to be paying attention to. That's what we're going to get into very quickly. I think I'd start with you. I'll start with you, Yash. And my very first question to you will be, which AI hiring tools do you think deliver measurable value? And which ones do you think are more hype than help? When we talk about hiring and all of the AI tools that are out there, which ones do you think, from your own experience working with this, which ones do you think are genuinely delivering value, and which ones do you think are hype? Yash.
Great. First of all, I'd like to thank Jeremiah for the lovely introduction, and great to be here with you, Khadijah. And thank you, everyone at the Lenvo, everyone watching. With respect to AI, hype and reality, it's a very good question that you've put forward. And it is interesting that there's a lot of tools that promise a lot of things, but it is very important for us as users, as people who hire, or as people who are applying to jobs, to understand what is being used for what. As per the previous session as mentioned, there's a lot of CVs, not just CVs or ATS that is being used, but also for interviews. With respect to that, we see a lot of platforms similar to Hire Easy, if you know that, and Fetcher, Seek Out, Intello. There are quite a lot of them. Hire Easy is used by Amazon. Seek Out is used by Salesforce, Accenture, etc. for different multiple reasons. Some are used for sourcing, while some are used for matching based on the personalities, etc. And whereas we're for also interviewing, there's HireVue, Code Signal, Similarly, there's Pymetrics. I think most of us have learned about it, know about it, where it is more of a game kind of a questionnaire, where it's more like it sets your personality according to the job. However, the second part of the question you asked is what are the tools which are majorly hype based on my experience, etc. There are a lot of tools which are resume scorers, like you can say, which are or ATS scorers, which call themselves humantic AI, or let's say emotional facial decoders, which decode your face from your CV. I think those take it a little too far. But yes, according to me, a mix of human and AI is the best possible. And for that, I feel the Hire Easy and Fetcher and Pymetrics seem to be uh, doing a quite decent job as of now.
All right. Thank you, Yash. I'll just quickly follow up on that with a quick question to say that, I mean, in your experience building a collab, I mean, what signals should HR teams watch out for when they're accessing an AI solution? I mean, there's a pitch everywhere on LinkedIn nowadays. Somebody's sending you a pitch, somebody's sending you a demo. I mean, for HR teams, what should they look out for? How do they know an AI tool that is overpromising?
So first to begin with, what we look at, or what I see personally as well, is buzzwords. Too many buzzwords kill the deal. Where it is kind of a predictive, you can kind of predict what is coming next without an evidence, which is a major red flag. There is no transparency sometimes with respect to metrics with some tools, which gives you maybe a rating, a ranking, or many more, and much more analysis, but there's no baseline for that. As long as you can see a baseline and understand where this is coming from, you can trust it a little more. Like I said, no baseline, lack of explaining, and lack of feedback loops. What happens is how AI works, like all of us know, is that as you train it more, it should get much better. But if that is not the case and it gives you substantial evidence, like you can call it, that is where it's a major red flag, which is where I think humans come into the picture still, even today, to make sure that this is not the case and not leave it completely to AI.
All right. Thank you very much, Yash. Thank you. So Khadijah,
Hi.
I'd like to ask, where do you think, I mean, current AI tools, where do you think they fall short, especially in driving inclusive, and equitable hiring? I mean, Carl spoke about Africa being the, face of the world now when it comes to global hiring because of the resources that we present, which is the youth. So where do you think AI tools fall short in driving, inclusion and equitable hiring, especially in a market like Africa?
All right. Thank you very much for that question. I just want to be sure the audience can hear me very well. And if you can also, if I'm very, very audible. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you, Khadijah.
Okay.
All right. Audience, please let us know if you can hear also.
Okay.
Just drop your comments.
All right. So to your question, to be honest, right, like the biggest gap I see is in context. And most AI hiring tools are built on data trained in Western markets, and they just don't translate well to like the cultural, linguistic, or socioeconomic realities of like emerging regions. So, for example, a candidate that has like a non-traditional education or informal work experience, which is like very, very common in emerging markets like Africa or Southeast Asia, might get overlooked because the model is optimized for a resume that fits a narrow global North template. And there's also the issue of biased data. So if you're training AI on historical hiring data from companies that have like unconsciously favored certain profiles, for example, we say like men from like elite universities, then your AI ends up automating that bias at scale. And when that gets applied in markets that are already marginalized, it just, widens the gap. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very key and profound. So what practical ways do you think that organizations can use, to debias these systems that they've created or debias the tools that they've employed in that sense? What practical ways can they optimize those tools to ensure that, sometimes maybe they go for speed, they go for automation, they go for, And many times, I mean, companies even here go for just big names, maybe because they hear that Apple is using this tool and then they jump on it. I mean, like you said, but I mean, if we want to build a tool that is not biased, or they already have a tool, how do they debias their system to ensure that, I mean, is inclusive and is equitable?
Okay, so the first thing is that I feel like companies have to be intentional about their design. Like that's the most important things, because I've seen companies, start by auditing their hiring data. So they look at who gets shortlisted, interviewed, and also hired. And then they retrain their models with more diverse data sets, or even stimulate what I'll call like a bias stress test. So a bias stress test is like where you run like the system with varied profile and check for like disparities. And one practical tip I could say is, inserting human checkpoints, meaning that, you can automate screening and still have human reviewers to override or flag results when something feels off. So this hybrid model keeps things efficient while also catching like edge cases that the AI might miss. So inserting human and also like letting a human being step in, it's a practical way I think organizations can debias their system.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, as funny as it sounds, AI is supposed to help us optimize what we do, but then, I mean, humans still have to come in to optimize AI also.
Exactly.
For us to have a very balanced system. And that makes sense. I mean, it funnily leads to my second question to Yash, because I was going to ask you to say that when must automation stop and human input begin in hiring decisions? Like, when we're making hiring decisions, just like Khadijah has told us, now we need to build a system, I mean, which I totally agree with, that involves both using AI and having the human element into it. But so where must automation stop and where must humans now step in making hiring decisions?
That's a great question, Jeremiah. Based on what Khadija says, she's made a very valid point when she spoke about how there's bias from training from Western data. There's simple things like, what we put on our resume or CVs, how you put out your achievements differs from culture to culture. Some cultures do not like to really boast about things, and some cultures know how to put it out much better. Some cultures, it's much important to be more humble in your approach and in your achievements, showing your achievements, whereas in others, it's different. And also things like you're volunteering your achievements and your everything related to CVs, etc. So it's very important for some cultures, in fact, to be much more careful about it. And the question regarding when should the human intervene? So mostly you can rely on AI for, let's say, repetitive tasks, like most of us know, to begin with. Like beyond repetitive tasks, like let's say resume screening. Sometimes all of us know that when you put out a job post, there will be hundreds and thousands of applications, and with LinkedIn Easy Apply and many other easy apply modes, you see a lot of irrelevant applications as well, because of course there is a lot of uh, struggle from the other side of the table as well. You cannot blame them. It's just the people might be like, okay, I'm looking for a job. I need it, so I'm willing to do it. But you, as a hiring manager or an HR, for you, it is important to get the right set of people. For that, a first level of screening, resume screening, parsing, etc., it's very important. AI is quite reliable with respect to that. And after that, there's skill assessment and culture fit and motivation, etc. There's much more beyond that. With respect to skill assessment as well, AI is okay. But when it comes to culture fit, when it comes to motivation, and when it comes to decision making, more or less, I feel personally and with my experience that human intervention is much more necessary, because it's not just based on your skills and based on some keywords that we hire a team. It's based on how they fit into the culture. It's based on how you have maybe one leader already in the team, and you would rather have someone else who is great with details, with following or following the regulations, details, and getting the work done in the right way, and another kind of personality, etc. So with respect to the initial steps like resume screening, skill assessment, and maybe scheduling of sorts, it's a great thing. But when it comes to culture fit, like again, going back to the point Khadija mentioned in her previous answer, it is very important for humans to intervene. Someone who knows the culture of that place and someone who doesn't have a bias, in the sense that, okay, based on the trained data previously and the final decision making as well. That's where I feel we need to draw a line, because we are not there yet in terms of AI, and cultural intricacies play a very, very important role once for building a team and for achieving any kind of goal.
All right, thank you, Yash. And I mean, that's quite insightful, especially when you mentioned how the culture differs from culture. Some cultures are a lot more, I mean, people are a lot more humble in their presentation of their skills. And in some places, you have to be loud to be seen. And I mean, I want to throw this question to Khadijah. And I mean, from what Yash has said, do you think there is a way to train AI to read soft skills accurately? And because I mean, many times when you put together your CVs, you can mention it. But I mean, your CV many times we sell your hard skills and we sell your achievements. Soft skills, maybe not so much. But is there a way to accurately train AI? I mean, to read soft skills, or do we need to entirely just rely on human judgment on this?
Okay, so let me start by saying that we are getting there, right? Because if we want to be real, we know that soft skills such as culture fit are like very, very important skills of like any great team. And we understand that although AI can streamline a lot, but if we really, really like rely on it heavily, we would risk hiring people who check like the technical boxes but can't collaborate, adopt, or communicate in high stakes situations. And I would also say we are getting there, but it's a bit early. And there are tools experimenting with video analysis or NLP, which are natural language processors, to infer traits like empathy or leadership based on how someone communicates. But honestly, that opens up a whole other kind of ethical worms. And until we have, let's say, enough diverse training data and regulations to prevent misuses, I think AI can support soft skills assessment, but not replace it. So a well-trained hiring manager, especially one who understands the culture they're hiring into, is still your best bet. So again, AI is about augmentation, not automation. So yeah.
All right, thank you. That's like quotable quote. What you just dropped at the end, I mean, you can write that in the quotes. I mean, it's augmentation, not automation. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, finally, before I throw this open to the audience to ask any questions that they have, I just want to ask again. I mean, if we look at the use of AI, and I mean, I'll just run through Yash and Khadijah very quickly. If we look at the use of AI, especially with, I mean, big companies, like Yash said, if a big company, let's say a Google Nigeria or anybody puts out, I mean, a job role, you may be getting applications that go into thousands, depending on the role that you open up. It could be going into thousands, it could be going, I mean, tens of thousands in that sense. And so I want to ask that a human, and I mean, we've agreed very much that we must have humans in the loop of the hiring process, but are human in the loop models only, are they scalable for large enterprises? Or, I mean, are they better suited to startups, small businesses? Because, I mean, if a small business puts out, I mean, they may still get a volume, but maybe not as the volume that being a big brand would drag in that sense. So, for, I mean, very large enterprises, are the human in the loop, I mean, model, is that scalable for them? Or is just better suited for, I mean, startup and mid-sized companies? I'll start with you, Khadijah.
I would say yes and no, because the speed of adoption is currently like pacing the conversation we should be having about like ethics, transparency, and accountability. So, for example, we know that tools like ChatGPT are powerful, but if we don't understand the data behind them or the way they are making decisions, you are basically just outsourcing your judgment to like a black box. And I've seen cases where companies use AI to generate interview questions, rank candidate response, or even screen cover letters. But if no one is checking for biases or auditing like the outcomes, we're just scaling systemic inequality at lightning speed. So, and the problem actually is not the tech, it's how we use it. So I think we need we need like a stronger framework for, responsible AI use in hiring. That means like clearer guidelines, more transparency in decision making, and definitely like third party audits. Um, you can you can't just like plug in a model and call it fair because it's fast. So yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yash, what do you have to say?
I completely agree with Khadija. In fact, it is very interesting that what she says. It yes and no. It depends again on the role. Is one more thing that is very important. The role that you're looking for, is it more of an entirely towards the technical side of things, or is it towards the people side of things, collaborating with teams and getting things done? So it depends again on this. Where if you want a person to go from A to B and only do that, and in a very technical fashion, there is certain evidence that AI can make things very fast. Whereas if there is a more all-round, requirement, which is mostly the case, you rely more on, a certain gap. You see a certain gap there, and you rely more on human intuition and cultural differences. All these things come into the picture. So it is very important when we say scalable or non-scalable, depending on the mid-size, large-size businesses, etc., on how we tie it up to a role, and on how again Khadija says she's been dropping truth bombs actually.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yes, AI is used for augmentation, not automation. It means
Yeah.
you have to improve your efficiency, not just rely completely on that, right? So it's like how you make the decisions, how is it trained, how what kind of a role is it, and how do you tie it back to the organization's values at the end, right? So this is something which a lot of people miss out on, be it a small scale startup, a mid-sized company, or a large scale enterprise. There are organizational values which are very important to every organization, which help you build towards a specific goal, right? When this comes into the picture, there is a lot of training bias that comes out, and as long as there's transparency, there's regulations and much more, it is definitely scalable. But what do we look at as scalable, right? What we need to see is how much efficiency does it bring. That is scalability. Automation is not scalability, but if it makes your job 50% easier, that's much more scalable in a sense. So bringing these nuances together is something which can be trained, which can be brought together. But yeah, it can't be like there's a RAG model right now, retrieval augmented generation, for specific cultures, for much more detailed niches, right? So it can be trained in that sense, but we're still getting there. It is yes and no. There's no straight answer. For
Yeah.
I believe for very technical side of things, yes. When there's human intervention, when it's more people working together, which is mostly the case, then there's definitely a human intervention.
All right, thank you. Please, if for the audience, if you have any questions, please, now is the time. We have very few minutes left, but if you have any question, I think I can take about 1, 2. So if you have questions, please drop them now. While we wait for the questions, I'll just ask, if the questions come, then we answer and then we sign out. But before the questions come, I'd ask one question to say that Khadijah and Yash, if you had the opportunity to build an AI tool, not for hiring, but to improve life generally, what would you build? You could get the tool into the market tomorrow morning. The product will be live by tomorrow morning, ready to use and straight to go tomorrow morning. What would you build, Khadijah?
Well, let Yash go first.
Okay. Yash.
All right. So I've been building Now Collab. We've been focused on how to improve the life of students in general, students and university people like professors, etc. in general, how their skills can match to the real world, because there's a lot of gap that we've seen with respect to the education system. I think in the previous session they were talking about it as well, and how there's a gap between the real world experience and what we are taught in colleges or in schools, etc. So my focus while building Now Collab is to use AI to improve that experience, to improve that learning experience, and to give them much more insight into the real world process of how work happens, how our projects, worked upon, how our projects executed in real businesses. How can we improve that output of students, of people who have dreams? Because a lot of us see that people in colleges have different dreams, but yet when it comes to the jobs in the eastern side of the world, central and eastern side of the world at least, it comes to just getting a job after getting a degree, rather than waiting and following our passions. And it's not so easy for everyone. Most of the people have to get a job and have to survive and have to take care of their family as well, and a lot of things like that. And a lot of people lose their dreams, lose what their interests are. So for us, our focus is on how, if someone's interested in a specific thing, how can we augment their experience and their knowledge in that sector, and how close can we take them to the real world in that sense, is something that has been very important for me, and that's what we've been trying to achieve and build, where there's no student or nobody, no young professional is left out and pushed to do something else just to pay the bills, but he's really good at something else, where slowly that skill fades off. So that makes the world a better place. That brings a lot of different things together, rather than everyone working at a call center or something like that. So
Thank you, Yash. Thank you. Okay, so Khadijah, you're going to answer that question, but then you're going to also answer one more question. Someone is asking that, are there AI tools that can help candidates prepare? That can help candidates prepare for prepare their CVs for interviews and for personality checks?
Okay, let me answer your question first. So since we're talking about like what we are building, I think I've always been a big advocate of consumer goods. And consumer goods in the sense that, products that applies to like everybody and anybody. Technology in general has been made very, very technical, if I can use that word, that a random person thinks AI is something so big. Do you understand? For the longest of time, we've been talking about AI at home, and I remember the day my mom used ChatGPT for the first time. So she's a lecturer, and she was pondering about, she needs to like prepare like over 100 questions for our students. And then I said, oh, use ChatGPT. And then she used it, and she was so happy. You need to see the way she was like, in seconds, like it was like she can't believe it that she has 100 questions, in how many minutes? Like, how is this possible? And I feel like if we build tools, if we integrate AI into what people can relate to, I feel like the world will actually be a better place, and everyone would use it very well. For example, I'm currently building an AI and blockchain platform, technology platform for insurance companies and SMEs that automates policy sales, claiming your risk, and also offers like fractional ownership of like policies for SMEs. So when people that don't even know what AI is, you understand, they can already how will I put it? They can interact with AI, right? And it's already helping them solve like their personal problem. I feel like that's what I am building. Like I would love to build, and I think we should build more rather than just building infra tools. It's just technical people that can only relate to, and then it furthers, makes like the percentage of developers are like what we have 8 billion, 80. How many people do we have in the world? Do you understand? And the percentage of people that are technical are just like a small fraction. And we are supposed to be building things for everybody, like everybody and anybody. A random person on the road should be able to access these things, right? You don't have to know what HTML is or what is JavaScript or anything. Like you should be able to be able to use these tools. And the more if we keep building things like this, products like this, people won't get scared. For example, I know like a percentage of women here in the Middle East that are very scared of AI. Like they don't even want to hear it. Yes. So when we say, because I do workshops here for firms like enterprise like focus, and when they say we are doing like training on AI, they would register and then they would not show up. And when you ask them, oh, why didn't you come? Oh, we are scared of AI. And I'm like, why are you scared? So because people keep seeing like the negative aspect of AI online, right? They consume that. So the education part, right, which I know Yash is currently working on, you understand, like it's the information, the positive side is, less. People are not, privy to that information, and everyone is just seeing like, so many bad things that AI is doing, you understand? And it just makes them scared. But if someone can buy like an insurance policy from the comfort of their home on their phone, they'll be very, very happy and excited, just like the way my mom is. I'm sure that's what she uses now. In fact, she was even saying that, oh, she's not going to tell her colleagues because she wants to feel fly. Do you understand? Like, oh, she could, she has 100 questions and her colleagues, they are still struggling with like, do you understand? So if my mom, who is almost 60, do you understand? If she can feel very happy, then why can't we just build things for, for everyone to, to have access to? So, yeah, so I think, building, real world, things that solve real world problems. Yeah. So that's exactly what, I would focus on. So, yeah.
All right. But, okay, so to the question, what tools, do you have any tools to suggest for candidates, prepare CV, prepare for interviews and personality checks very quickly? Because we're out of time.
So I would say Notion. I think most of these things, like there really isn't any tool this day that doesn't have AI embedded in it, right? We have Notion, we have Google Docs, with the Gen AI, infused if you're like paying for like the premium, there's also Grammarly. And I think for me, I use AI to sort of like rewrite. If you check most of my ChatGPT prompt, is always rewrite this for me. Do you understand? So you can't use, ChatGPT to write your CV. Do you understand? Like it doesn't know you that well. Do you understand? So you can always, rephrase this word, make it, look standard, right? You can even like upload documents of like, oh, can you look at this person's CV? Can you do something similar? So yeah. So I think for preparing for interviews, it also depends on the kind of job you're doing, right? There are some jobs that you can't use AI to like prepare the interviews because you don't even know what they're going to ask you. Do you get? So unless it's a technical test, right? You can check, but you also need to be able to explain your answers. So you have to be very, very careful when you're doing all of this. You get? So, and I don't really think there's any AI tool that can prepare you well for interviews, right? It's also, personal development from your own self. Yes, talking, public speaking. I didn't just start today, right? I've been doing it, over and over, like for the past 3 years. So you also need to work on yourself, but you can let this thing just, help you on, like the things to say, your pointers, your body gestures and all of that. So I would just say like, Notion, ChatGPT. Yeah. So just few of these tools. Yeah, those are the ones that I can think of right now. So.
All right. Thank you very much, Khadijah. Thank you very much, Yash. We're very much out of time. So I just wanted to thank you thank you for joining in. Thank you for giving your time and your expertise. I'm sure that, everybody on the call has, learned one or two things. I know we couldn't take all the questions, but I believe that from the answers that Yash has given and Khadijah has given, many things are clear. I'll just leave you with, something that Khadijah said at the closing. AI can help you do some things, especially when you're preparing for stuff, but you have to work on yourself. AI can help you edit your CV to fit a job role. But when you sit in front of the interviewer, it's still you that gets to display the skills that you have. So you develop yourself, and then you use AI, the word on Marvel, you use it to augment what you've already prepared for. So thank you, Yash. Thank you, Khadijah, for joining in. Thank you very much. I believe we've had a nice time, and it's over to you, Michelle. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.